Hello everyone, it's your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with another exciting video. In this video, I'm going to be reacting to a short 1-minute clip from the Season 4, Episode 14 episode of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on History Channel. The last Secret of Skinwalker Ranch video reaction I did was to another 1-minute clip where they claimed that they had found a wormhole. So to give you kind of the rundown on that so that you don't have to go back to watch the other video, essentially they shot a rocket up into this so-called anomaly that they found. And when they shot the rocket up into the air, they were like, it never came back down. So they were like, we didn't hear it come down, we didn't see it come down. That being said, they did this at nighttime, and it doesn't really seem like they looked for it that hard. They just kind of shot it, and then after a little bit, they were like, where did it go? It's nowhere to be found, kind of thing. And that was one of the things that I criticized in the previous video. They also had a weather balloon with a sensor. And when they sent the weather balloon with the sensor over the anomaly, they said that they lost a quarter second worth of data. And they were trying to say that the rocket disappearing and the weather balloon data error thing were evidence that there's a wormhole on Earth above Skinwalker Ranch or whatever in the specific area that they call the triangle. So I think that's ridiculous. I think that's a really big leap to take. It's interesting for sure. I love, thinking about fringe stuff like this where it's is it real? Is it not real? But I just think you need to do more than what they're presenting in order to make such a big claim. The dude that you're seeing on here right now, he's one of the main guys on the show. He's an astrophysicist. This is a dude where this should be his subject matter expertise or whatever. Kind of. I mean, for sure, but also, it feels more like a theoretical astrophysicist thing to me. Regardless, in this video, my question to you, you answer this for me in the comment section below. Is this the first ever photo of a wormhole? So when they originally were talking about the rocket disappearing and losing a quarter of a second of data from the weather balloon thing, I was it'd be interesting if they tried to show us this is what it looks like. Maybe some kind of CGI, we're guesstimating that the wormhole starts here kind of thing. And we kind of got something like that in this clip, except it's LIDAR. So what they have is a drone overhead, and the drone is doing, I think they say 4,000 scans a second or something like that. It's essentially just shooting a bunch of lasers down toward the ground over the triangle area in Skinwalker Ranch where they think the wormhole's at. And there's a black circle on the ground. And the black circle is where they're getting no data back. So they're shooting the lasers down and trying to do this LIDAR sensor thing, but they're not getting any data back. None of the light is being reflected back to the drone kind of thing. So they're this circle is the wormhole is what they're trying to argue. But they also show some data from when they shoot the rocket up into the wormhole, that rocket I mentioned earlier that disappears into the wormhole. So they're what we expected to see was one blue streak, which essentially would have shown a single rocket shooting up into the wormhole. But instead, they have a whole arc of blue streaks. As you can see, he's pointing at that now. And he's something's bending the light that's coming back to the drone. Something is messing up the LIDAR image. And he goes straight from this to being wormholes are real, and here's a diagram of a wormhole and what happened to the rocket. And it's an interesting jump. It's a very quick jump. So see, he's doing the whole you see multiple paths instead of just one, and it's arcing around the anomaly. That guy, by the way, let me jump back real quick. This is a meeting that's being done with a former guy who worked on the UAP task force, the former governor of Utah, Like there are some like actually like fairly interesting people that this is being presented to. I wanted to pause it on the governor of Utah. Where's he at?
An arc
Where's he at?
that's kind of going around
Where's he
this
at?
anomaly.
Show him. That guy. That guy's the former governor of Utah. And I was like, how did they get all these people in this room to be able to present this? This isn't like them just presenting it to like some History Channel producers or whatever. These are people who have like held government office. This is fascinating.
How could that be possible? What are we seeing?
Imagine being them and sitting here and looking at this.
It think that there are multiple rockets being launched in different locations.
One thing that he doesn't bring up in this clip, or in the episode, I actually went out of my way to watch the whole episode to like make sure I had context for this. This reminds me of the double slit experiment, which is a lot to try and like explain to people who like have no familiarity with quantum physics. But the basic idea is that if you have a single slit and you have a photon gun that can shoot one photon at a time through the slit. Photons, by the way, are like these subatomic particles that make up light or whatever. Let's say you can shoot them one at a time like BBs through a slit. You expect a slit-shaped pattern to form on the screen behind the slit. Because the photons can't hit the screen anywhere but through the slit, right? Makes sense. So if you have two slits on a sheet in front of a screen or whatever, and you shoot the photon gun, what you would expect are two slit-shaped patterns because the photons can only go through one slit or the other. They can't go through both. But what we end up seeing is an interference pattern, as if the photon that's being like shot through is almost like splitting apart and traveling through both slits, and it creates an interesting wave on the screen behind it. And this is like the basic idea behind the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics. The idea is that the photon is interacting with an alternate universe variant version of itself. So the photons are like booping off of each other, and you're getting to see essentially the many different paths that the photon went on in like other worlds kind of thing. This isn't the best description, by the way, of the many worlds interpretation or the double slit experiment. I am not a quantum physicist. I'm like a computer science guy. This is like outside of my ballpark. But when he was talking about how the light wasn't behaving as expected and we expected to see one thing, but instead we see a whole bunch of things, that's what came to my mind, was like the double slit experiment, many world stuff. What do you guys think, by the way? This is just like interesting. So he's like, something's bending the light and is causing the one rocket launch streak to instead show like a bunch of rocket launch streaks.
And I got thinking, well, what on earth could do that?
It's interesting he says, what on earth?
So,
and yeah, look at this! Look at this rinky-dink PowerPoint looking thing. I like it. He has like this mini clip art rocket thing. What's the implication? Like, what is supposedly on the other side of the wormhole? That is something that they do not really talk about in this at all. I also like that he tries to do a layman thing. He's like a wormhole or portal. And when he says or portal, that dude goes, But his friend who's working the computer, who's working the PowerPoint, he's gonna nod. He's gonna give a look that made me laugh. Yeah, he does this like, yeah, yes, the portal. This dude, I think they say is like the director or owner or some member of a company called Omnitech, which I watched this whole episode. They like sway over these Omnitech guys who are like, ooh, this is like really exciting stuff. We're going to give you a bunch of like AI tech to help you gather more information and have a bunch of like actively running sensors on the ranch. Honestly, I think this stuff is like interesting. The people in this meeting take it like really seriously. And not only that, afterwards they talk about kind of big money move stuff, like setting up sensors all over the ranch and having like an advanced AI algorithm to work through all the data and stuff like that. So they're not only like taking it seriously, as in like they're not like laughing and joking about it. They're taking it seriously, as in like we'll put our money where our mouth is, to try and like see what you guys are looking at and look at it more closely. But all the wormhole stuff is really fascinating. My girlfriend Ashley and I like to watch like ghost hunter shows. We like to watch like paranormal shows, and I would say for the most part, the ones that focus on like UFOs are maybe like the most boring. Just not a lot happens in a lot of them. A lot of them is just someone saying that something did happen with like no evidence. This show, they have some like UAP video, and I think that's interesting. But if you're not using a UFO DAP, which is like an AI camera that uses a machine learning algorithm to figure out, hey, is that just a plane? I have like a bunch of images of planes and stuff, and birds and blimps and other things you expect to see in the sky, so that an AI can rule out what it is. I don't really care for a lot of UAP video that doesn't have something like that, like a non-bias factor whose whole thing is to just say whether or not it can identify it. Because if the AI can't identify it, then I'm like, oh, well, we either need to like fix the AI, improve its data set so it's better at identifying stuff, or if the AI's data is like on the up and up, it knows about all these different types of craft, and it can like guesstimate, even if it sees a plane that it like has never seen before, that it knows what planes have to be able to say, yeah, that's a plane kind of thing. Then you have more questions. You legitimately are like, this is truly unidentified as far as we know kind of thing. So the UAP videos that they show are like kind of cool, but I prefer if they have like an AI thing to have a little more bias in its judgment. But the wormhole stuff is just different. I'm sorry, I haven't watched a show yet where someone's trying to claim any kind of scientific evidence of wormholes. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think it's exciting. Do I think it's true? No. Big if true. Huge if true. If there's just like a portal just on Earth and you just find it and shoot rockets into it and stuff, fascinating. Very interesting. But what do you guys think? Is this the first ever LIDAR photograph of a wormhole? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and thank you for watching. Peace.